Namaste. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our Anamkara meditation program. With all my heart, with all my love, I welcome you to our program this evening. And great to be gathering together in this infinite space of consciousness where we can come to know that there's no distance. In the field of consciousness, we're all one. So that's what the practices aim at, sort of sidestepping the conventional mind, our conventional experience that is completely obscured by the conventional mind and all the conditioning that has gone into shaping it. Now, all the conditioning of this life. And if you believe in past lives, then there's lifetime after lifetime of conditioning that also further obscures the truth of who we are. So we gather together to dive into practices that take us beyond the ordinary mind and help us to support our practices on an everyday basis for being able to do that, so we can know genuine freedom and get free of the suffering that, the Eastern traditions make very clear comes out of this root quality called avidya, this primal ignorance of not knowing the truth of who we are, not knowing our infinite, sublime nature as this pure field of consciousness, awareness. And when we don't know that, we become identified with limited, ephemeral content. That's mind. So that's why we're here, to go beyond that, to go beyond relaxation. Because radical freedom is not about a relaxation exercise. If one wanted to just get relaxed, well, you could drink a nice cup of herbal tea and listen to some music, and that would be delightful. But as seekers, as yogis, as practitioners, we want much more than that, because we're aware of what the fullness of freedom looks like. Now, there have been tremendous exemplars of that, great sages, great saints of all traditions. Buddha, Lao Tzu, Shankaracharya, Laldead, men, women, all kinds of beings, saying, no, this is what's possible given this precious human birth. So we want to start out our practice, both here and this evening and at home, with that kind of elevated view, that kind of elevated aspiration behind our practice. That we are really, truly going after that state of genuine liberation, of true radical freedom for ourselves and all beings. That we want to know what it is to be completely free of suffering and thus empowered, like these great sages, saints, beings have been, to help remove the suffering of all beings. That's the quality and exalted nature of the kinds of practices we do for meditation, whether it's mantra, whether it's chanting, whether it's breath. All the practices are aimed at getting us free of the mind so we can know this extraordinary state of being. Free of all doing, the mind engages in practices and seems to be doing practices, but it's really like the Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland, where it's erasing itself. So that what stands clear, is that boundless field of radiant awareness, those boundless qualities, our loving compassion, wisdom, rapturous joy, and unshakable equanimity. That's the root nature of who we are beyond the mind. So we enter these practices with that in mind. This is what we're going for. So we're going to cut through the mind. We're going to examine the mind. We're going to deconstruct the mind. So we have this great aspiration that we're starting with, and then that carries over into the practices, because what helps empower practices? Enthusiasm, right? To be enthused means to be filled with spirit. The spirit of your true nature, your highest nature, that is also beckoning you, summoning you. Get free. I'm right here. Freedom is right here, just the other side of that thought you identified, that feeling you got identified, that role you got caught in. Just the other side of that is a sublime freedom. And freedom from reactivity, freedom from the confines of the mind, freedom to walk that into the world for the benefit of all beings. To be a bearer of the light of wisdom, because that's your true nature. So we're doing these practices with that exalted view. And every time you sit and meditate at home or do a practice at home, wake up in the morning. Wake up like that. What am I doing here? Oh, this is another day to move into that full realization of freedom. The ecstatic nature of that, the wise nature of that, the unshakable equanimity of that, the complete freedom of reactivity that's there. That's what your day is about. Then the day becomes filled with that intention, that awareness, that what are we doing here? Why are we walking on this earth? It's not just to be a consumer. That's what our culture has brainwashed us into. Happiness is going to come from more consuming, having more things, having the right clothes, the right accomplishments in profession, all that stuff. The meditative traditions cut right through that. They say, the truth of who you are is so sublime. It doesn't need to be dressed up in gold or silver. It just needs to be known. You know that fullness. You'll know a richness that no material possessions can compare with. So from the Eastern and the meditative traditions, now even the wealthiest of people, not knowing, they're impoverished. Not knowing the truth, they're impoverished. Not knowing the fullness of being, they're impoverished. Not knowing the boundless nature of love and compassion, that they could be using their wealth and power to help others with, they're totally impoverished. And we see that. This is Kali Yuga. This is this dark age where that identification with all the limitations of mind is so flourishing and causing people to flail about in their own suffering, creating suffering for others. What cuts through that is wisdom, is knowing, is the meditative practices, the contemplative practices, the practices of study, the practices of analyzing and deconstructing the ordinary mind. Because it's not you, it's an instrument. And it's an instrument that's gotten a bit jangled. We got to tune it up. So that's what the practices are also aimed at. So our gathering this evening and Thursday evenings is all about that. Coming home to the fullness of being and becoming wise to the ways of the mind. Because that helps us to be able to see it more clearly. We'd be able to step back, detach from it, look at it and go, oh, look what's operating there. That's not me, that's the mind. Caught on some other path, got on a thought train that took it into, someplace I don't want to go. That's part of the practice. That's liberating. It's also liberating because it helps us to know we're not the mind. So if the mind does something wrong, we're just there to help support it and change it. We approach the mind with loving compassion, with wisdom, with kindness, and say, oh mind, look what you're creating. So much pain, so much suffering for yourself, so much then acting it out and creating suffering for others. Oh, let's practice something different. Let's practice detachment. Let's step back and breathe and walk away from the situation. How do we bring wisdom into this moment? How do we bring loving compassion into this moment? So we're entertaining a whole other set of questions than the ordinary world would have us do. They're going, oh yeah, you deserve to be angry. Yeah, you should go after that. That's not the way of sadhana. That's not the way of spiritual practice. We're really looking at how do we transform this entire instrument of mind and body, even while knowing, all that we are beyond the mind and body. That essential nature of who we are is already completely free, untouched by movements of mind or body, unsullied by contracted thoughts and anger. It's untouched. your Buddha nature, your Christ nature, your divine nature, however we want to refer to that, isn't touched by that. But the experience is obscured. We don't have the experience of being in that state because we're identified with the mind and its string of content. So we start to get very clear in our practices. That helps to strengthen our practice, that kind of clarity to be able to see what's going on. And so as we do these practices and look at these different natures of how the mind works, well, the yogis have been doing that for thousands of years. Buddha 2,500 years ago, Patanjali around the same time, codifying in the Yoga Sutras what was well known and had been practiced for centuries even before then. They were talking about an aspect of mind or a way of differentiating what goes on in the ordinary mind that are called the Kleshas. They're kind of ways of obscuring the truth, these patterns that we get caught in. And, well, they're be called negative emotions. They can be called the list of 5 poisons, different ways of looking at it. That helps us to deconstruct the mind and see them. So we start to see. And we're familiar with them. In the Buddhist tradition, they'll talk about the 5 poisons: desire, anger, delusion or ignorance, pride, and jealousy. I mean, you hear these similar kinds of lists in many different traditions. But the way that the Eastern traditions deal with it are unique. They're not saying they're qualities of you, and you're a sinner, and there's something wrong with you. No, they're qualities of a mind that is identified with these forms of ignorance. They all arise out of this primal ignorance, out of the primal ignorance of not knowing the truth of who we are. Then the things that are arising within this individualized field of consciousness we call the mind stream, we attach ourselves to, we identify with. That's what becomes our sense of self, little self. And it's an accumulation of thoughts, feelings, memories, and things spread out across time, strung together by the mind, cobbled together, and saying, that's a me. But when you really look into, where is this me? What's the quality of this me? Is it that particular thought? Is it something else? You really start to deconstruct this sense of me, and it turns out it's like a wisp of smoke. It disappears. So that actually is one of the ways that we skillfully deconstruct some of these experiences we have of these negative emotions. Look, who's the one that has that? Where is that particular quality of anger? Well, it has physical sensations. That's not me. That's my body. I can say, okay, that's going on in the body. But there's no actual substance to it. The only substance it has is another thought stream that's saying, oh, but that is real, that's me. So the yogi said, oh, when you look at this thing called the mind, we can see there's one aspect of that function called buddhi. It means it's just the perceiver. It's just aware. It's part of what's related to Buddha saying, I'm Buddha. I'm just awake and aware. What comes along with the ordinary mind, on top of just being aware to perceptions as they are, without tacking anything else onto them, there's this other instrument of mind that does attach itself to it, and it's called ahamkara. The ahamkara means a little I maker. And it makes a little I, a little me, out of whatever's coming up. So we don't just have a thought, it's my thought. We don't have just a feeling arising, that's my feeling. So the I maker keeps making this I. And by doing so, seems to give it a reality and a continuity that nothing's there. Nothing's there. It was all completely ephemeral. Neurons firing, come and go, Sensations come and go, thoughts come and go. If we're in meditation as a practice, we're just watching the thought stream, as in a mindfulness meditation, where we're detached and aware, relaxed and at ease, sort of sitting on the banks of the river of the mind and watching the stream of the mind go by. And there's content, thoughts, feelings, memories, sensations, different stuff floats by. As long as we're watching it, we don't have to get involved in it. We don't have to become it. We don't have to engage the other part of mind. So we have buddhi, we have ahamkara, and then we have manas, so that's the thought of thinking, cogitating, ruminating about things. We're just watching, detached and aware, relaxed and at ease. This posture of awareness, relaxed, spacious, open, as wide as the sky, as infinite as space. So anything that moves through, we're unmoved by. In the same way that space isn't moved by movements of object in space, space always remains unmoved, untouched. Doesn't matter whether it's a planet going through space or whatever else it might be. Space, 747 plane goes through space, through the sky, it's fine. Unmoved, untouched. We begin to become aware of our ability to access that quality of awareness when it's not identified and attached to mind, content of mind, stream of thoughts, feelings, memories, sensations, all that stuff. So becoming skillful in meditation means we're able to step back like that, watch, and not keep falling in. That ability to even label things, and so when in these various traditions we're talking about the Kleshas, and we can name them and give them different things, different terms, right? So there's laziness, there's forgetting the instruction, there's agitation, there's non-application of teachings and practices, and there's over-application. So these 5 faults, these kleshas, these are things that the mind gets caught in, and when we start to see that, we can go, oh, look at that, I'm just not applying the teaching. I already know what to do, but I'm sitting here like playing dumb to myself and getting caught up in the mind, and it's just, I'm not applying what I already know. Let me apply that. Oh, the application, let me be detached. Let me shift my attention away. Let me practice this smoothing and steadyingness of the breath that helps to calm the mind and the body. So we're making use of those skills when we have identified what the issue was. So the issues arise, but we also have the antidotes to them. The practices are antidotes to these obscurations, these poisons, these afflictions that the mind gets caught in, and we start to be able to just apply them moment by moment, both in everyday life, as well as when we're sitting to meditate. Now, interestingly, there was some research done, I don't know, probably 10, 15 years ago now, on a mindfulness training practice that has to do with thought labeling. And it's very similar. So you're sitting there, your eyes are closed, or they might be open, and you're just watching the mind stream. You're feeling the flow of the breath. That's an anchor, slowing and deepening the breath, helps to invoke just relaxation, the body letting go, not having to react to whatever's going through this field of consciousness, we call the mind. So we're relaxing and letting go. Now we're just watching the stream go by. And then something comes up, and the automatic response of mind is to engage it. Part of it is it likes these things. It identifies with them. It's what we would also call self-cherishing. Self meaning limited mind. The mind cherishes its own products. Every little thought, every little feeling, every little memory, every little sensation, whatever's going by, whatever's happening, here it goes, I'm going to get involved in that. And so there's a lot of momentum to that dynamic that we are pulling back from. So interestingly, they did a piece of research on people doing that mindfulness practice with a particular technique that's called thought labeling. And thought labeling, simply what it describes is, you have a set of labels. So when a thought comes up, you just go, emotion. You label it, let it go, come back to breath. If you're doing breath and mantra, you let it go, you come back to breath and mantra, and the awareness of I am that mantra. I am this throb of the infinite. Then something else comes up, and you go, emotion, let it go. Come back to your focus. Then a memory comes up. You just go, that's a memory. You're labeling it as a way of detaching from it, because the label is also telling us it's irrelevant here and now. I don't need to attend to it. It's just another thought, another memory, another feeling, another sensation, a fantasy about the future, a worry. That's worry mind. That's another label again. That's worry mind. I don't need to go there. Come back to the breath, come back to the mantra. Well, when they wound up doing this research on it, they were looking at what's going on in the brain when you're thought labeling. It's also related to what's happening just when you're silently repeating mantra, because thought labeling and silent repetition of mantra is engaging this left frontal lobe. The left frontal lobe, executive function, focus, these are good self-regulatory mechanisms built into the brain. So we're making use of a method that helps bring up more of that, and then simultaneously what it's doing is the amygdala, which is a subcortical area in the brain that's related to emotions and emotional reactivity. It's why Dan Goleman, great psychologist, coined the term amygdala hijack. So when we're reactive, that fight, flight, freeze, anger, irritability, that's amygdala stuff, right? And it hijacks the rest of the brain. It literally takes our frontal lobes offline. And that's why we say and do things that we later regret, because our higher order thinking wasn't there. So thought labeling and mantra, making use of activating more of the left frontal lobe, actually helps to calm the amygdala. Literally starts to calm it down. So they found that these kind of techniques are particularly effective in helping us retrain the mind and get free of reactivity. Because a lot of what drives the conscious, the semi-conscious, and unconscious workings of these afflictions is reactivity. And that just brings up these old primal kinds of conditioned patterns, many of which we took in before we can even remember, because they were being laid down in the womb and early childhood. And that's really been the purview of Western psychology, is to really be able to look at, differentiate, map out how these conditioned patterns have come about and how they then influence us through our life. But traditional Western psychology didn't have the lofty view, doesn't have the view of what's the infinitude of our being, what's the infinitude of our nature that is already unbound and free of those patterns. And that if we can know that, we can look at those patterns now, not with shame, not with just cringing and trying to deny them and defend against them, which is so prevalent in the ordinary psychology of the ordinary mind. So we're looking at it from a place of our truly sublime nature, and it's looking at its own creation. It's looking at the mind and saying, that's a piece of me, but boy, it's afflicted. Let me help it out. Let me bring love, compassion, patience, kindness, wisdom. Let me really deconstruct and say, no, you're getting caught up in things that are completely ephemeral and truly non-existent. And the reactivity is to something that's not even there. So we're making use of this much higher order capacity that's innate in the yoga tradition, that power of consciousness that is revealing that level of being and helping to transform the vehicles of mind and body. Well, that's known as Kundalini Shakti, the power of revelation and transformation, the power beyond the mind that allows us to then become conscious of the infinitude of being that is beyond the mind. And without that innate power, active and working, we wouldn't be able to know it because the limitations of ordinary mind. So when we're looking in meditation, and whether we're doing mantra and breath, simple mindfulness, repeating a phrase like Thich Nhat Hanh used to teach, peacefully the breath comes in, peacefully the breath goes out. Right? Now you're using words, so it's giving the mind a focus, helping to bring up activity in the left frontal lobe, which is going to, again, help calm the amygdala, calm reactivity. So you can use a phrase like that. It doesn't have the potency of true mantra, which is really a form of Shakti. It's a form of awakened consciousness itself that is encoded in these Sanskrit syllables that we refer to as mantra. And it's why the potency of mantra, mantra meaning that which protects and protects us from the mind, is it's able to shift our consciousness out of the confines of the mind, the ordinary mind, and all it's identified with, clings to, it's attached to, defends against, holds on to, all that stuff, and says, wait a minute. All of the ordinary mind is held in this exquisite expanse of luminous consciousness. There's the truth of who you are. And when you come to know that, this instrument of mind and body are going to be radically transformed because instead of chasing after ways of trying to solve its anger, its annoyance, its wanting this and wishing it had more of that, all of which come out of the ignorance of not knowing who we are, all of that begins to just collapse. So we can just be present, filled with that loving compassion of the truth of who we are. The vehicle then attuned, because it's been shedding all these old conditioned patterns that get in the way of both seeing and acting on. Often we know, and then we find, some old reactive pattern of action is still in our way. And so we have to clear that. We have to mentally rehearse. We have to actively do different kinds and forms of actions, of generosity, of compassion, of loving kindness, of doing them as a practice. It'll just come through spontaneously when the obstacles are out of the way. But until they're out of the way, practice, because the practice is helping to remove those obstacles. So this is what we're doing with these various practices and ways of looking at it, and seeing that, we're not just bound by the vagaries of mind. The mind is an instrument. And rather than just living out ordinary existence like 99.9% of the population, the meditative traditions say there's an entirely different way of being in this world that's been exemplified by many who have done the practices and realized that. And so it's within the reach of a human being. In fact, it's one of in the Eastern traditions, the ways that having a human birth is so highly valued, because we have an instrument that can transform these patterns, free us from old stuck patterns, give us the capacity to develop new free patterns, and be at the service of our own highest nature, which is one with all that is. That we can then have the view, the direct experience of that kind of unity and the loving, ecstatic, joyous nature of that state of consciousness that embraces all as itself, embraces you and you and you and you. All, that's all just myself. delighting in all these different forms, whether it's that, whether it's any life form, any material form. All forms are forms of Shakti, are forms of energy. But to know that, to develop the skillfulness of stepping out of the confines of the ordinary mind, so we can see that vision is already there. You don't develop that vision, you get rid of the obscurations. So when Patanjali in the Yoga Sutras started out with that yoga, meaning union, yoga, chitta vrittis, nirodha, yoga is this stilling of the thought waves of the mind, because it's all the thought waves, no matter how we differentiate them and call them different names, in the end, they're just thought waves, and they are obscuring the true nature of who we are. So the first practices, meaning, the first several lifetimes or more, has to do with calming the mind, so that we get to have that direct experience. Then we can start to see that, you know what? That direct experience, it's always there. If the mind's agitated or not, it's my identification with the mind that obscures it, not even the quality of mind. The quality of mind interferes with it coming through the mind, coming through the body, but knowing it, we can get into the states of knowing before the instrument is completely clear for being able to express it consistently, fully, moment by moment, always, at all times, in all places. That's what it means to abide in that state. That's what it means to be a Buddha or a Christ consciousness that is a full carrier of that. That's our aspiration, is to reach that, so that we have the continuous experience, and in that state, since there are no others, we're radiating it to all forms of ourself, that they may all be free, that they may all delight in the boundless joy, the boundless rapturous ecstasy, the boundless love and kindness, the boundless patience, the unshakable equanimity, that we can walk through the world in that state, shining that light. And the forms that are ripe and ready to know that, they start to get attracted to that. They want to know that. And so that's how we serve. We then wind up living a life of service, just quietly living as we are, but that light is radiant. So we radiate wherever we are. It's in a grocery store, it's in a restaurant, it's shopping, it's raking the leaves, whatever it might be. There you are, in communion with all that is. How sublime. This is what we're capable of. Rather than getting caught in these negative mind states that have people fighting over, who's going to have more and more and more, and that means others, and countless others are going to have less and less and less. It's all coming out of a deficiency model. And so we have that capacity to change what the course of our experience is by transforming the mind. That's what we're given. And that's what it means to realize the fullness of what a human birth affords us, so that we make full use of this precious human birth. Come to know the infinite as yourself. Live it into the world for the benefit of all beings across all time, all space, all levels of existence. That's how exalted these practices are, how exalted your true nature is, how exalted the goal is. So we want to have that sense of the sublime nobility of practice, the sublime nobility of sitting for meditation. When you sit for meditation, you're the great sage sitting on the seat of Dharma, sitting on the seat of knowing, sitting on the seat of wisdom, like Buddha sitting under the Bodhi tree. That's you, right? Because that's your real nature. And that's how extraordinary your practice is. Even if it's just sitting in a corner of your bedroom or wherever we might be doing it, right? No, it's the mind that is either open to the truth of the exalted nature of this endeavor or closed to it and making it ordinary. We are getting ourselves free from the ordinary mind. The ordinary mind makes everything ordinary. And that contracts, that binds, that restricts. So we're stepping out of all of these conditioned patterns, all these afflictive emotions, all these poisonous qualities that the mind has taken in and been conditioned to automatically respond to, we're getting free of. And we're determined to do that. So determination, enthusiasm for practice, these are things we cultivate so that it helps to empower our practice. Having that high aspiration helps to empower our practice, takes it out of the ordinary confines of the ordinary mind that just sees it's another relaxation thing, right? And then it can blow it off because, oh, I can relax some other way. I think I'll do this instead. No, there's nothing equal to the profound nature of the practices of meditation, contemplation, transforming these patterns, deconstructing them, seeing them, adopting different modes and practicing, cultivating the opposites to these afflictive emotions, cultivating the antidotes. So there's all these things that then fill our day with just the delight of practice, so that we don't keep stepping on landmines and the reactive mind goes off. We become nimble. We become resilient. We become flexible. We become fluid. All this opening out of the innate capacity of our transformative power of consciousness. So that's what we engage in. And one of the sublime ways that's done is through mantra. Mantra is literally a throb, the sound form of that power of consciousness. That starts out as a gross form, meaning like speech and sound and chanting. Gross means just that it's concrete. This physical sound, it's a physical activity. It's very good, beneficial, because chanting helps to transform our environment and penetrates the body right down to the level of our bones, the marrow of our bones, right? But then mantra becomes more subtle. It's now in the subtle body as a thought form. Om Kalima, Kali Namo Nama, Om Kalima. Oh, I'm invoking this sublime consciousness that gives birth to all, the consciousness that is my very self. Om Kalima, Kali Namo Nama. I bow to you. I bow to you, O great mother. It's given birth to all that is, gives birth to this body, gives birth to every thought, every feeling arises from that. So we're shifting our attention, we're invoking that now on this subtler and more powerful level, right? But eventually the mantra is going to even dissolve, and it's just going to become the awareness of the field of consciousness, the luminous infinitude of consciousness that's giving birth to all, the infinitude of this luminous ocean of consciousness in which waves arise and subside, forms arise and subside. And then we have the experience of dissolving into that. We are the ocean. There's no sound, there's no thought, there's no mantra as a thought form or sound form, because the essence of mantra is the awareness of pure and being. Yeah, I am that. I am all that is. Those are words pointing at that truth. The truth is when we know that directly, fully, by having dissolved into that. And if the mind stirs with thoughts, we just go back to the repetition and go back through that process of dissolving and dissolving and dissolving. And that's what we're going to do now. We're going to chant Om Kali Ma, Kali Namo Nama for a few minutes. Then just sit in the stillness. To come to know the stillness that is unbroken, the stillness that subsumes and holds all of creation, the stillness that holds every thought, every sound, every sensation of body, every movement of mind arises out of stillness, dissolves into stillness. So now we're just going to watch as we meditate the arising, the subsiding, the dissolution, just watching from a place of sublime freedom, joyous freedom, relaxed freedom, a state of equanimity and peace that watches unmoved by movements of the mind, unmoved by movements of the body. This is the truth of who we are. This is the true nature of being, always present here and now. We're just becoming attuned to it when we get the obscurations of mind and patterns of mind out of the way. Then what truly is stands revealed in all its fullness, all its glory. Om Kalima, Om Kalima, Om Kalima. The mind become filled with that alone. Om Kalima, Om Kalima, Om Kalima. No matter what arises, meet it. Om Kalima, Om Kalima, Om Kalima. We end with this prayer, that may all our practices truly benefit everyone. May all beings know complete freedom from suffering. May all the merit, may all the good that has come from our practices this evening, from hearing teachings, from contemplating them, from meditating, from becoming immersed in the throb of the infinite mantra. May all that serve the benefit of all beings. We completely relinquish all self-cherishing, all motivation that we are the beneficiary of these. That merit goes to all beings. All beings are ourself. All need to know the boundless joy, the wisdom, the freedom, the equanimity, the fullness, the inexhaustible fullness of being. Know the truth that cuts through the primal cause of suffering, ignorance. No, may all that we do serve that and serve all. Cutting through, just cutting through that ignorance. So it underlies everything that contracts the mind. We see anger arise, one of the main afflictive emotions, right? We dissect it. Where did the anger arise from? What arose from a desire? And the desire wasn't met, became irritated, became angry. Where did the desire arise from? Well, it arose from lacking something, wanting something, needing something, being diminished, being afflicted by ignorance. The ignorance that cuts us off from the sublime fullness of being, the inexhaustible fullness that never knows lack or want or need. When we know that, then the very root of anger is gone. The very root of all the afflictions, gone. It doesn't exist in the truth of being. It only exists in the limited structure of mind and its self-cherishing, its self-involvement. So we're cutting through all that. We're letting that all go. We're erasing that. So then this instrument of mind and body are then conduits for the truth, the luminous quality of love, compassion, that radiance in the moment. Then our wants and needs are reduced to just what does it take to take care of the body? They're so simple. We come home to that. Then we're free. Then we are genuinely free. Because that state of being is the state of the eternal. Those qualities of joy, of wisdom, the happiness, the rapture, the peace, they're uncaused. For the mind, everything is caused. Oh, I'm at peace because I got what I needed. I'm happy because this condition was met. That's all just the mind. The truth of our luminous being, infinite expanse of radiant awareness, lacks nothing. Never has, never will. Its eternal existence is that. It's the ephemeral mind that's caught in the thorns of ignorance and all the afflictions that it gives rise to. But they have no reality. Only eternal is real. They have ephemeral reality, constantly shifting. So we watch it from the standpoint of being. We watch the kaleidoscope of change. And we help the mind get free from being identified with, oh, I like that change, I don't like that one. No. Keep our awareness illuminated by fullness of being. And all those things, they just are arising and subsiding, being created, sustained, dissolved. We can live from that place of knowing, of being, and know the unshakable equanimity that goes with it. That's what we're invited to through these practices and through the sublime wisdom, teachings, practices of these great beings, great traditions. We come home to the truth of who we are. So thank you for being ones doing that. That work. It's work to get free of the mind. But it's right work. It's the right effort. It's the effort that leads towards true freedom, not just more bondage. So thank you for being ones doing that, walking it into the world for the benefit of all around you, as well as for setting your mind free. So I look forward to seeing you again in 2 weeks. With all my heart, with all my love, thank you for coming this evening, entering this field of consciousness together and sharing the fullness of your being, the power of your practices, the power of your intention, the power of your commitment, the power of your enthusiasm. This is what carries you and everyone ahead to keep traversing the path till we discover there's no path left. Jai Ma. So did any inspirations, thoughts, questions come out of this evening's discussion?
Very good, yeah.
Helps to be able to step back and see the mind and differentiate. Go, oh, there, look at that pesky character. What's he doing there?
Yeah, I mean, some of the talk it's so important to recognize all this stuff you've been saying, like on a really like everyday basis.
Yeah.
In my case, I'm a musician, so when I play, I think I'm playing, and that's already, identifying with the small me, and
Right.
it's a little rough because it makes me feel like, I mean, it's challenging is what I mean. I don't mean rough.
Sure.
It's very challenging to get myself out of my own space and just
Right.
say, this is flowing as it is. I have no control over this. And, you know, Um, but then the question I ask also is like, why am I practicing? You know, because I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, who's practicing? It's not
Right,
res practicing for what?
right,
It becomes very, in other words, it becomes very identified with the smaller self
right,
immediately
right,
when I start saying, "Oh, I got to practice and this and that." It's
right,
really very strange.
right. Well, that's why right effort. I mean, we discern it as saying, okay, yes, the conventional mind and its identification, it needs to become more skillful. So practice is about both empowering it to be more skillful, and in the process, letting go of identification which binds us. And ultimately, we'll let go of that. And in states of flow, you know it as a musician, you get out of the way, and they seem to be very spontaneous when that happens. Um, but we're cultivating the conditions for that to happen more frequently
Yes.
and be more sustained. And that does take cultivating the mind, and in part teaching it that, oh no, let go, get into the flow, let go. That's a training.
Yeah, yeah. They should teach that in high school.
Yeah. Oh, kindergarten, please.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Sorry, yeah, yeah. Earlier, it's better actually. Jeez.
At home.
Well, that's up to the parents, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. In the womb. Good. Any other?
Yeah, this was one of your better ones. I really like. Let me just tell you one of the
Thank you,
things I
Ron.
really liked about this evening. It, and I believe this to be true too, because when you embody the what I call it the divine, when you embody the divine, it's powerful and it spreads without even saying a word. You see it, right? You feel it. When somebody walks into a room and he's angry, you the energy, you can
Hmm.
sense it. When somebody walks into a room and he's carrying the divine with him, right? That is also energy.
Yeah,
And it's very powerful.
yeah, yeah. Good. Yeah, good observation. Thank you.
Lawrence, I've been taking in a good amount of Qigong this past year or 12 months or so. And um, so I've been learning a lot and connecting to Qi,
Mm-hmm.
life force, and has me think about prana. And it's not something I don't recall being a topic of discussion from you. And I don't know if it falls within the purview, but I was just wondering about that in relationship to the beautiful practices we participate in with you here,
Mm-hmm.
and how does that show up or relate,
Sure,
prana?
sure, sure. So chi and prana, are pretty much synonymous. And in the yoga tradition, that experience of the practices that help to stabilize the prana, the flow of prana. The root of prana is kundalini. So what gives birth to prana, what gives birth to chi, is kundalini. Kundalini is the full expansion of that. And so the concrete practices, even when we're doing mantra, when we're chanting mantra, well, that's a pranayama. You inhale, and then you go om. You inhale, kali ma. So chanting is actually both a mantra consciousness practice. It's also a pranayama practice. It's also a yoga practice of asana. This is the posture of chanting. This is the posture of meditation, the steady posture of awareness. So the various components of yoga, as Patanjali talk about it in Raja Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, the Eightfold Path of Yoga, you'll see them all embodied in this practice. So the regulation of prana is done like that. Now, one can get into, as you do with Qigong or with Alka teaching Hatha Yoga, you're focusing on prana, and prana will help stabilize the breath. So stabilize the mind, because the mind and the flow of prana are very intimately connected. So that's incorporated in the practice with the chanting, with then mantra, where you're saying mantra, you might be saying it slowly in coordination with the breath. That's helping to sustain the pattern of breathing. Why is the pattern of breathing? That's the pattern of the flow of prana. When that is even and stabilized, the mind is more even and stable. So these are very concrete practices. In the Shiva Sutras, we would call them anava upaya practices, because that's that part of the very concrete level of practice. When you move into Shaktipaya in the Shiva Sutras, then it's the mental component of stabilizing the mind, keeping it focused and absorbed on mantra, and the awareness of I am that source. So the practices are developed to take the mind from its gross levels of being caught to more and more refined levels of both being caught and being set free, till you finally get to the places where it's just sitting in stillness, and because the foundation of steadiness, the immovable, unshakable awareness is beginning to show up. It's still limited in terms of a limited sense of I, but it's not being caught by the vagaries of mind. And so the practice is moving that way. So whether it's Hatha Yoga or Qigong, which developed out of Hatha Yoga, that's for both empowering one to stabilize the physical vehicle and free it of obstacles and ways of being contracted, and moving into the domain of mental consciousness, still limited consciousness, but stabilizing that. So eventually we can just get free. The stabilization is so important because the mind goes after movement. It becomes identified with movement. So to become absolutely steady, absolutely quiet, unmovable, unshakable, right? The Buddha talking about the immovable spot under the Bodhi tree. Well, that's your Sushumna Nadi. That you carry the Bodhi tree. That is that central axis. And that's what we're trying to get aligned with. But if the mind has this habit of going after movement, novelty seeking. Can I have a different mantra? Can you give me a different practice? I'll use that for a while and then give me something else. That's all the novelty seeking mind. And so it doesn't become steady, it doesn't become stable, it doesn't become free. So the practices are all aimed at being able to make that happen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I wrote this down when you were doing your, I don't know what you call it, a Dharma talk. And it's something I do sometimes, but it helped me, focus on this more explicitly in my life, which is to label what rabbit hole I'm about to go down before I'm too far down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And so it's a kind of like thought stopping.
Yeah.
It's cognitive behavior therapy. Oh, that's a memory. Oh, that's a desire for future,
Right.
So thank you. I'm going to work on that a little bit better.
Yeah. The great Zen master, patriarch Bodhidharma, so we think of antidotes. Thought labeling is one. I'll label a feeling and drop it and come back to breath, mantra, just awareness. I'll label it as a memory. I'll drop it. That's already got more thoughts involved, right? So we can simplify it. Just go, it's a thought, drop it. I have one category. Bodhidharma to go just, not me, not mine. That's it. Because anything you're perceiving there is not you and it's not yours. There's no you to possess that mind. Not me, not mine. That was his way. Swaha. Goodbye. Not me, not mine. Bare awareness. Pure. Untouched.
Thank you. I needed to hear that. Not me, not mine.
Yes.
I need to add that to it. Thank you.
Yes, because the mind is always going, that's me, that's mine.
Exactly.
The antidote, not me, not mine. It's a good antidote because that poison keeps flowing through.
Well, thank you. This was really fantastic.
Good. All right, you great beings, thank you for coming, delighting in your company.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Lawrence.